So find a comfortable seat or go to your back if you're feeling it all depleted or you just want to be on your back. And just come into presence in whatever way that works for you. Some rounds of breath. You might move, I'll guide in a little bit, but just if you need to spend a couple minutes, just organic movement on the floor to allow you to come into presence, to come here. But see if you can come out of the thinking mind and into the intelligence of your body. And you might focus your attention on the legs. Front of the legs in particular. Or you could focus your attention on the action of the legs. So the title of today's class is A Leg to Stand On, or Two Legs to Stand On. But just maybe an image of the strength in standing postures, or just in standing. And then I would invite you to be curious about why you're here. What brings you to practice? What continues to bring you back to this practice of embodiment that allows you to look at yourself in deeper and deeper layers. And if you're not already on your back, you could go to your back now. Bend your knees. Allow your arms to rest out to the side. Bend your knees. And from here, have your feet as wide as the edge of your mat. And just allow your knees to drop side to side. And we do this quite a bit, but I'm going to ask you to slow this down quite a bit so that when you drop your knees to the side, the inside leg really reaches away and you feel a stretch all along. If you could imagine those four muscles that we just saw in the picture there, the photo I showed you, imagine those muscles really lengthening as we move side to side, the inside leg, that knee reaching away. And I'm going to bring this up quite a bit today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a reminder to focus your attention on what the muscles in particular in the front of the leg, the quadriceps, what they're doing. And then you can speed up the movement here just to get some nice action in the pelvis, inner leg, outer leg. Come back to center and take one of your blocks now. Press into your feet and take a block and just slip it underneath your sacrum. So I would use the fattest side of the block for this, so your sacrum can rest fully on the block. And then bring your knees into your chest, towards your chest, so you're just resting your sacrum on the block. And then just extend one leg out, just let it hover. Pull your toes back towards your shins and feel the contraction on the front of the leg and the quadriceps. So toes pull back towards shins evenly. And then you'll pull that knee in and straighten through. Opposite leg and just hover above the floor. So it's one leg in Tadasana, the other knee bent up towards your chest. And you can move back and forth with this a few times. Really contracting, so you're really pulling the toes back towards the shins, so it's like one leg in Tadasana, and you really feel the work in the quadricep of that extended leg. And then the next time you reach whatever leg you started with, when you reach that leg out long, rest that heel to the floor. If this feels okay in your low back, if not, you might have to slip the block out. And then you could reach out and with the second leg. And so both legs now extended, and you'll feel a lot of opening in the front of the hip. Keep a little bit of action in your quads. And then bending your knees, take the soles of your feet to the floor, slightly press into your feet, remove the block, come down to the floor, fold back to the floor, and now bend your knees, place the block between your thighs, upper inner thighs, so you're squeezing the block between your thighs, and draw your toes back towards your shins. So you'll feel the front of the lower legs working. And then here, just interlace your hands behind your head. And on your next exhale, lift elbows towards one another and lift head and shoulders. And then inhale, release back down. So some yogi sit-ups, yogi crunches. So take your time, really feel the engagement. As you squeeze the block, you'll feel the legs working. And as you bring the elbows together and then lift, you'll feel the rectus abdominis, the front of the core working, okay? And anywhere from 10 to 20 of these. And take your time. Actually, a little bit harder to go slow with these things than quickly and use momentum. So every exhale contains the lifting, and on the inhale, the lowering. Let your breath contain the movement. And once you've done the chosen number that you want, you can take yourself back to the floor with your feet, release the block, and now stretch your legs long once more without the block underneath your sacrum. Pull your toes back towards your shins. Okay, and then rest your hands, palms up beside you. So this is the Tadasana. We'll spend some time in Tadasana in many different orientations. So supine Tadasana. And just take a couple of breaths, engaged in the legs, engaged in the front of the legs. And then release any effort and just roll on to one side and stack your legs in Tadasana in the side version. So you can have one arm underneath your head, resting your head on the bottom arm, and the top arm could be used for balance here. Bend through the top leg and set your foot behind you on the floor. And then really feel the knee reaching away. And you could even maybe just wiggle a little bit through your hip. There's really a stretch for the quad though. Great, and then come back to stacking the legs. And now just lift the top leg. Keep the top leg into Tadasana, bottom leg into Tadasana. So really both legs into Tadasana, but the top leg just lifted maybe 4 to 6 inches. So you're just, you're balancing here. Pull the bottom side ribs up. You could reach the top arm up and stack this way. And then release your arm, release your leg, roll onto your belly. And bring your arms into the Sphinx position. So arms parallel to one another. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Feel your kneecaps lift as you press the tops of your feet into the floor. Draw your tailbone down towards your heels. And then just release that effort. And now you could keep your forearms parallel to one another, or you could interlace your fingers, bring the elbows in a little tighter. All right. And then turn your toes under and press yourself up into forearm plank. Press the upper back, the thoracic back, up towards the ceiling and really draw the navel up and in. Upstroke the navel and really tighten the legs. Tighten the legs. Press through your heels. And then lower your knees to the ground, thighs, pubic bone, belly. Roll onto the opposite side. Stack your legs in Tadasana. Bottom arm extends out. Rest your head on your bottom arm. And then with the feet, legs in Tadasana, just lift the top leg slightly, maybe 4 to 6 inches. Keep the Tadasana shape. You could stay here or stack the top arm. If you wanted to make this a little more difficult for your balance, you could take that top leg into Vrksasana, placing your foot right in the belly of the inner leg, bottom inner leg. Your choice. If you want to add something, of course you can, and follow your body's lead. From here, you'll just take the top arm down, spin back onto your belly, set up in the Sphinx again. Either arms parallel or clasped together. Turn the toes under, press up into forearm plank. Squeeze the legs. So you're squeezing muscle to bone. Press into your forearms, lift your thoracic spine, your middle back towards the ceiling, and press through your heels. And then release your knees, thighs, pubic bone, belly. Come all the way down to your belly and just turn one cheek or temple to the mat and softly rock your hips back and forth. Just take a integration, couple of breaths here to integrate that movement. The other side. And then come back to center. Take your hands by your low ribs, underneath the shoulders, press up to table. And then back slowly. Just bring your hips back towards your heels in a child's pose. Great. And then from here, we're going to take the blocks. If you have 2 blocks, it'll be I think far more enjoyable. If you only have 1, that's okay too. We'll make that work. We'll stack the blocks. And I'm gonna see if I can, my orientation. So I'm gonna stack the blocks and sit on the blocks. Just sit on the blocks. Tall spine, right? And we're gonna work with the legs here. So reach the arms forward until you have to, it makes you stand up, right? And come all the way up to standing. And I'm just gonna change my orientation. And then you'll set back down, reach the arms forward, stand up, come to Tadasana, reach the arms forward, and set back down. Okay, and let's do maybe anywhere from 6 to 20, just depends on you as you reach the arms forward. Feel the strength of the legs, and when you come into the Tadasana, really feel the strength of your legs and pull the kneecaps up. And you can use inhale to come up or exhale, it's up to you, but let the breath be the container for the movement. All right, if you really want to feel this, you can rest down again. And we really want to get our weight forward. So when I was home visiting my parents, I was working with my mom on getting out of the chair, really leaning forward. Feel that leaning forward. Then you can lift your hips right off the chair and press up with the strength of your legs. And then come back down. And then the next time you're standing, let's go ahead and come to the top of the mat and stand in Tadasana. Good. Just get my mat in view here. So feel here in your Tadasana, feel the feet spread wide and pull your kneecaps up. Really feel the muscle engaging on the bone. Relax hands beside you. And feel for how, when you have the strength of the legs beneath you, you can let your spine sort of grow long or tall. Right. Now, just put your weight into your right foot and lift your left foot slightly. Just hover. And then release. Put your weight into your left foot and hover your right foot. Okay, go back and forth a couple times and just feel how that sort of really encourages you to really strengthen or really pull muscle to bone on that standing leg. Great, and then from here, let's put our weight into our left foot and step the right foot back in Warrior One. You can take your hands to your hips to start. And we really want to work here on equalizing both legs, so the work in both legs. So bend your front knee, but also bend your back leg. And then re-straighten the back leg, so you really feel the muscle reaching and grabbing onto the bone. Good, and then inhale, reach the arms up. Draw tailbone down towards the heels. Exhale, rock forward and bring your hands behind your back. So like a halfway lift sort of, or like you're gonna take flight. Inhale, reach back up and see what happens to the back leg. Recommit to the back leg. Draw low ribs in, and we'll just do a few rounds of that. So as you lean forward, arms back, you feel a lot of weight on the front leg. Can you keep that back leg engaged? And then inhale, sweep the arms back up and see if you've lost the commitment to the back leg. So really want both legs engaged equally as you move back and forth here. And do a few more at your own speed. Good, and we'll meet back in Vira One with the arms raised up, traditional. And then bring your hands to your hips and shift your weight to your front foot. And then just start to come up, reaching the back leg up slightly and straightening through the front leg. So just a little balance here. If you want to go all the way into some variation of Warrior Three, you can. And then bring both feet together, back to Tadasana. About 30% effort in the legs, not too much. And then we'll put the weight into the right foot and step the left foot back. Bending through both knees and then re-straightening the back leg. Really committing to the back leg. So outer back heel presses to the floor and you feel the muscles of the quadriceps of the back leg really grabbing the bone. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And then exhale, rock forward, arms shoot back. Same vinyasa as the other side. And the awareness here is in the back leg. As we move back and forth, are you committed to that back leg in Tadasana? We'll meet with the arms extended up. See what happens if you tend to have the more of your weight or more of your effort in the front leg. Can you recommit to that back leg? Great. Then hands to hips as you just slide the back leg up slightly and straighten through the front leg, like you're going to launch into Warrior Three. And you can, if you would like to, you can bring the back leg up a little higher, hands to heart, out in front, or just hands to hips, balancing on that front leg. Really strong in the front leg, and then both feet together, Tadasana. Relax your arms down. Gaze is forward. Hands are relaxed. As you bring a little effort into the legs, can you find less effort in your face? Great. And then from here, let's open up to the long edge of the mat. Feet wide and long edge of the mat. Turn the right toes out. And then the back heel out slightly. Good. Now, same thing. As you come forward, we'll keep the hands on the hips for a minute. As you come forward and stack the front knee, have you lost engagement in the back leg? If so, maybe you could back off even a little bit. Really straighten the back leg and reach the back heel down towards the floor. And then you could extend the arms coming into Warrior Two. Equal strength in both legs. Now, we're going to vinyasa this a little bit. So as you press into the front leg and straighten, bring the arms above your head. Feel the work in both legs, equal work in both legs. And then on the exhale, you'll drop down into the more traditional Warrior Two stance with the front leg and move back and forth between these two shapes. Feeling for an equal standing on front and back leg. Yeah, good. And then the last time we come into the Warrior Two with the front leg bent, you could drop that inner groin down, pressing into the thigh, where the thigh meets the pelvis. And let's hold this now. Really feel the strength of the back leg. Commit to that back leg. Inhale, straighten the arms, straighten the front leg, turn the feet, rest your hands at heart center for just a minute and feel both legs gathering in. Feel the inner leg working as you gather the feet towards one another. And then hands on hips, turn the opposite foot forward. Pick up the back foot now and turn the heel out. Good. And as you drop down into the front leg, really feel commitment in the back heel. So back leg is really working full on, and then we'll vinyasa, same way. As you come up, bringing the hands together, equal commitment, both legs. And you can vinyasa this side. Just flowing here. We'll all hold together, but if you prefer to hold, you can hold. And again, you really want to emphasize that you don't lose the engagement in the back leg. So there's a tendency to put all the weight in the front leg, all the work in the front leg. Really feel the work in both legs. You can press into the hip crease of the front leg and work at getting this front thigh a little more parallel, and then recommit to the back leg. In fact, sometimes if you pull a little bit more with the back arm, that helps you remember that back leg. Holding warrior two. And then inhale, straighten up. Bring both arms up, both feet to be parallel, and then rest your hands at your heart center. Feel both legs firmly connected. Pull muscle to bone. Good, and then we'll heel toe the feet together, about shoulder distance apart, and we'll drop down into Utkatasana, chair pose. And as we come up, we're going to move back and forth between this shape and just standing up. So I want you to take your time to really feel the engagement all through the quads. So we'll inhale, sink the hips back and down, come into the chair pose, the fierce pose. And then on your exhale, you can draw your hands down and stand up. Take your time, you might get a little dizzy when you do this, and commit to standing. Commit to the Tadasana. Inhale, the arms sweep up, and the hips come back and down, and exhale, press and straighten out the legs. So when we work in the front of the quads, when we work concentrically, that's what we're doing. We're straightening the legs, right? That's the action of the quads, is to extend the legs. And when we work eccentrically, that's when we're bending and coming into the squat position. And as we've talked about before, in pretty much all muscles in the body, eccentric work is quite a bit harder. So when I bend and drop my hips down, I really feel my quads working. I'm doing that slow eccentric movement and then concentric movement straight back out. Let's go a couple more times. And we'll meet in chair pose. And let's bring our hands to our hips in this chair pose. And then just take your weight into your right foot and hover your left foot. And then release the left foot. Take your weight into your left foot and hover your right foot. And release. And now we're going to release the legs to straight in a forward fold. From here, heel toe your feet apart slightly and drop your hips down. Come into the yogi squat, balasana here. Just squeeze the elbows into the knees and the knees back into the elbows. Really lengthen through your spine. If you need to sit on a block here, that's fine as well. And then release down to your seat, and you're going to need your blanket now. I'm just going to change the orientation of my laptop so you can see me from a little different angle. Okay, so I'm going to take my mat. If you have a little wall space, it doesn't need to be much. You need a little wall space. And your blanket for padding your knee. So there's my setup. So take your time to find a setup that could work for you. If you didn't, I had some cupboards here, wall space, even probably a door jamb would work, or just the edge of a wall. Because we're just going to put our the back of our leg up against the wall. So I'm going to come into my blanket. I'm going to put I put one knee on my blanket, and then come to my hands. Turn that foot, the top of the foot, into the wall. Okay, and then my front foot is going to come forward like I'm in lunge. Okay, so I've got that, and then I can walk my hands up to my bent knee, and this might be where you stay, right here, opening this quad, or you might be able to bring yourself back into touching your buttocks right onto your heel. Everyone will be in a little different place here, depending on the tightness in your quadriceps. And we'll hold this just for a few breaths. Now, if you had no wall space at all, and you're like just staring at me right now, you could be on your side body with your leg back, holding your leg back in this same stretch. Imagine, I can show that actually. If you had no wall space at all, you could be doing this. Not quite as effective, but it'll work. And second part might be a little more difficult, but we'll go with this for now. Great. Now, if you can, make sure that your back leg, the one that's bent, is kind of right in the middle orientation. So not out to the right, not out to the left. And then you're going to bring your hands forward. Your front foot might need to come forward. And you're going to draw your hip pointers towards your hands. So you're kind of coming into a little bit more of a lunge. And then press your foot firmly into the wall. You should feel your quadriceps firing up here. So you press firmly into the wall. Let's go maybe 3 rounds of breath here. So no holding the breath. Good. And then you'll release that work, and then take your foot that's against the wall and cross midline so it comes towards the opposite side. So cross midline. And then lean forward again and press. Press the top of your foot into the wall, into that space, and you should feel this in a little bit different part of the quadricep. I feel it more in the outside. And after your 3 rounds of breath, relax, and then take the foot out to the side. Same side that you're on, so out laterally from your body, come forward, press. Press that foot into the wall. Great, and after your 3 breaths, put the foot back in the center, walk your hands back, take your hands up to the bent knee, and now just because we've been working on this, and this is the antagonist muscle, see if you can bring your heel in towards, take your foot off the wall and bring your heel in towards your butt, and whoop, work those hamstrings, that hamstring group on that leg. Ooh, baby, you might get a cramp. Cramps are okay. And I can keep my foot off the wall for about 5 seconds. And then, woo, done. I swivel my knee, come on down. And of course, we'll change sides. Gratitude that you're not a millipede and you don't have 1,000 legs to deal with, right? So if I face the wall space with my hip, I can sort of slide my foot into place, come down on my hands, get my front foot in place. And again, your stretch might be right here. This might be enough for your quads if they're quite tight. If not, you can bring your top hand up to your leg, front bent leg, and you could rest here. And maybe you can bring your whole body back. So I'm not certain whether it's a good sign or not. I have very open quads, and I do quite a bit of cycling and walking and things like that, but I have quite open quads, or at least they respond to doing some of this stretching, so that's a good thing. And that's really key. And when we're talking about lengthening and strengthening, how our muscles respond to different stimulation. So here now we're stretching the front, and then we'll drop our hands down, right? And you're gonna lean forward as if it's just like you're doing a lunge. So you bring your hip pointers down towards your hands, right? And then press your foot into the wall. Press your foot into the wall. And this middle position, you should feel this right in the belly, right in the center of your quadriceps. And give it quite a bit of work here. Release after 3 or 4 breaths, and then come across midline, and then press your foot into the wall. Body is forward, like you're lunging. Good. After 3 rounds of breath, not being in a hurry, friends, come back, bring the foot back to center, and then out to the lateral side. Press the top of your foot into the wall. Bring your hip pointers down towards your hands, forward towards your hands. And you'll come back to center and walk your hands back, resting your hands on the front thigh. Can you lift your foot off the wall and reach your heel towards your buttocks? And now you should feel the hamstrings working and the quads stretching. This is actually a beautiful example of the the active muscle and the antagonist muscle working in concert. Woo. Release, and you can swivel out of that. And take your setup. You can take the blanket away, and if you need to re-establish yourself in the center of your room or away from the wall, go ahead and do that. And come to the top of your mat in Tadasana. Very good. So now feel your feet reaching into the floor. Feel the strength of your legs. Press your feet into the floor. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, fold through center. Inhale to a halfway lift. Exhale, fold, hands to the mat, step back, downward facing dog. Draw the muscle to the bone, so lift the kneecaps here. Let's bend our knees and really get the sit bones high, and then extending heels towards the floor. Feel the length through your side body. We've been working side body, back body, now we're in the front body. And commit to the front of your legs. Really commit. It's as if you're trying to press the front of your thigh through the back of your thigh. So don't get lazy here. Really commit. Next inhale, come forward into the high dandasana, the high plank, and really commit the legs. So kneecaps are pulled up. Good, let's isometrically pull hands towards feet, feet towards hands. Feel the core here, the front of the core, the rectus abdominis working. So we're still in Tadasana shape. Great, now you can swivel heels over to the left and come into the side plank. So feet are in, legs are in Tadasana. And then coming back through center, back to high dandasana plank. You can take the other side, Vasisthasana, side plank. Legs are in the same orientation, just we're sideways. Come back to center. Bring the hips back, downward facing dog. Notice your tendencies here. If you want to relax the legs here, draw the kneecaps up. Your next inhale, walk your feet up towards your hands, come into a halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Press into your feet, engaging the toes back up towards the shins. You might even pick your toes up off the floor. Feel how that engages the lower front legs. And inhale, spin yourself up. Reaching up, hands towards the ceiling. And exhale, hands to heart center. And just resting in Tadasana now. We're going to go into Vrksasana, the tree pose. So you could have wall space to support you. You could have a block to support you. I like using the block to really feel into the standing leg. Okay, so when we come into Vrksasana, we take whatever leg you want to choose and really commit that leg into the Tadasana leg, the muscle to the bone. And then the opposite foot can rest on top of the standing leg foot or against the calf or up against the thigh. If you're using the block, I like using the block because it really teaches me to commit to that leg. So I'll start with one foot on the block and I'll stand up and commit to that leg. I can hover the other foot. This could be your Vrksasana. You could rest one foot on top of the other. Come into your calf or come bent leg into the inside of the standing leg. Standing leg is strong, kneecap pulled up, muscle to bone. Really commit to that standing leg. You'll feel some wiggling and wobbling, and that's good. That's helping you find your balance, find your center. Really commit there. And then when you're ready, you can come out and shake out that standing leg, and we'll try the other side. So lots of options. You could have your hand resting on a wall if you needed that for some balance. If you've got the block, or if you didn't play with the block on the first side, try shifting the block over and playing with the block. And again, it's really nice. And if you take this nice and slowly, you step your foot onto the block, commit to that standing leg, and then hover the other foot beside. Right, there we go. You're hovering there. And this in and of itself is quite a bit of work. Both feet in Tadasana, both legs in Tadasana. Then you could rest your foot on your standing leg foot or against your calf, or come up into the belly of the standing leg. Committing to that standing leg. Commit to that standing leg. Press your bent leg foot into the standing leg and back. So they're pressing into one another, they're committed to each other. Release, step down, shake it out. Take a vinyasa, so top of your mat. Inhaling up and exhaling to fold. Hands to the floor, back to downward facing dog. And again, bring your attention each time, what's happening in my quads. Coming forward into the high Dandasana. And then you can lower through Chaturanga, take your knees to the floor, whatever you like, coming down. Keep the upstroking the core, so keep upstroking the navel as you lower down. And take a baby back bend. Lower to the floor. So here, this could be a baby cobra. You could take your hands and stack them one on top of the other, resting your forehead. Just take a few rounds of back bending here. Tops of the feet pressed into the floor. So we're still using that front line here to support, right, this back bend. So tops of the feet press into the floor. And when I press hard enough, my kneecaps lift off the floor. You could also come into the Shalabhasana, the locust pose, any formation here. Good. And then when you've done a few rounds of that, you can press up through table and set back onto your heels. One last thing before we come down to the floor, and this is Yogi's Choice. So we're exploring these Tadasana legs, these strong legs, in standing and in plank on our side. So we can also explore that upside down. All right, so I'm just going to turn my mat and use my little wall space here. If you don't have wall space, or you don't want to go upside down for any reason, that's fine. And I'm going to come into the headless handstand. All right, so forearms together, and we've done this before in class. So if you want to come with me, interlace your hands, and I'll come into my wall space and bring my hands, my interlaced elbows, hands here, about 4 inches from my wall space. Come into the dolphin. And then bottom leg is the spring leg, top leg is the lift, and I'll come up into the headless headstand. But the legs is what I want to talk about. The legs, my legs are in Tadasana. So toes back towards shins. I'm squeezing muscle to bone. You could also be in a handstand here if that's in your practice already. And squeezing muscle to bone, drawing the low ribs in. So really working to get my body in this upside down position to be in the same Tadasana shape. If you do go upside down, come out the same way you went in. Rest your knees down to the floor. Come into child's pose. And take a few breaths in child's pose with your head down before you come out. Great. We'll come back to our backs. And we'll come back to this position of comfort with the soles of your feet on the floor and your heels reaching, close to the buttocks so you can touch them with your fingers. And now if you can imagine, think about, close your eyes for a minute. We've worked a lot with the hamstrings last week. And so we know that the hamstrings and the quadriceps work in opposition to one another, okay? The hamstrings bend the leg and the quadriceps extend the leg. So we're gonna go up into the bridge pose. And we'll start just with our arms alongside our body, or you could start in the robot arms. And lift your toes. So we're gonna get those hamstrings, the hamstrings online again. So we'll press into our heels and draw the heels isometrically back towards the shoulders. Okay, so now you can feel the hamstrings. You can touch underneath. Is one working harder than the other? That's a possibility too, because we tend to have asymmetry in our bodies. So really feel the hamstrings working, allowing the quadriceps, so the knees reach away, so we're stretching and opening the top of the leg, the quadriceps, while the hamstrings work here. And the hamstrings working together, of course, with the glutes. So as we press and lift, the glutes are working too. You could lower your feet back down, but keep that engagement in the hamstrings. And then you could have your arms in robot arms, or you could interlace underneath and lifting, committing to the hamstring working and the quadricep working eccentrically. So it's the quadricep is now stretching, working eccentrically, lengthening. And if you wanted to do a little extra here, the judges are in place. They'll give you extra points. You can heel toe one foot towards the center, lift the opposite leg, pull your toes back towards your shins, squeeze muscle to bone, release. Take the other side. Keep hips level. Release. Wherever you are, reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Fingertips towards the ceiling. Now I like to come up on my toes here. And then roll down one vertebra at a time. Just really delight in the unraveling here. Delight in this unraveling of your spine. Coming down to your back. And now anything that brings you, just trust your body here, maybe a couple of twists or a happy baby. But allow yourself to just move in a final vinyasa before we settle into Shavasana. When you finally come to Shavasana, allow everything to just let go. Just come down With the legs. Legs are long. Let your feet fall out to the side. Relax the muscles on your face. So as we enter into this season of giving, just to start us off here today, a little Rumi poem. Love is reckless, not reason. Reason seeks a profit. Love comes in strong, consuming herself, unabashed. Yet in the midst of suffering, love proceeds like a millstone, hard-surfaced and straightforward. Having died to self-interest, she risks everything and asks for nothing. Love gambles away every gift that God bestows. So I thank you for the gift of your presence, and the gift of your commitment to your practice, because I receive so much from that as well. And you could place your hands on your heart center and think about the love that is bestowed to you unabashedly. Straightforward, like a millstone. And the gifts that you give to the world in your love. You could stay in Shavasana as long as you choose, as long as you like, or you could come up to a seat, bringing your hands together in that gesture of prayerfulness or mindfulness, however you choose to name it. May the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within us all. Namaste.